you got 10% on dollar terms, while in terms of purchasing power, as far as you're concerned, you lost 12% of your purchasing power in the deal, despite getting some interest. And, you know, rewriting the Fisher equation, 1 plus real is equal to 1 plus nominal. So 1 plus 10%. And what's the inflation rate? It's $4 now. It was $3.20 then. It's actually 125. All right. So your 1 plus real is 1.1 divided by 1.25, 0.88. That means your real if you want to write a direct formula, either way it would work out. All right. That's what we mean by real rate of return. Rate of return after you took inflation into account. For example, for regular T bonds, 30-year yield is at let me get the regular 30-year. US 30 years, 417. And for tips, to 138 at this point. All right. Now let's figure out so-called break-even inflation rates. Or the inflation rate that is implied by the nominal and the real. So 1 plus R, big R, 1 plus small r minus 1. If I made that calculation, 1.04417 divided by 1.02138 minus 1, that is 2. I'm going to actually not round it too much. This thing is too slick. Here's what that break-even rate means. If you believe that the average inflation over the next 30 years is going to be 2.23113, you should be indifferent between buying a nominal treasury bond or a TIPS, okay? Or a regular treasury bond or TIPS, the inflation protected one. Suppose you believe that inflation in US is going to be higher than that, okay? What do you think you should do? Should you buy the TIPS or the nominal ones or the regular ones? For your own reasons, you believe inflation is going to be 3%. average inflation. Which one would you buy given these rates? Nominal or uh, extra crispy, the inflation protected one? Because nominal gives you nominal, okay? I mean, if you do it approximate, and just for this purpose, I will let you think approximate. If you get 441 and you think the inflation is going to be 3, net, you would get 141, okay, on an inflation adjusted basis. But the tips are already giving you a rate of return adjusted for inflation. So on real terms, tips are giving you 214. So you're better off buying the tips. Because on a real basis, you get 214 versus 141. But if you believe inflation is going to be only 1.5, you want to buy the nominal. Because if you do one nominal, 1.5, you get about 291 in real terms, and this gives you only 213. Or alternatively, convert that into nominal, 213 with plus inflation. On nominal terms, you will get 353. So if your beliefs are of over inflation are below the break-even rate, you want the nominal rate. If you believe that there's going to be more inflation than that, you want the tips. And if you're a fool and you actually buy gold to protect yourself from inflation, remember, gold has no yield. Maybe provide some inflation against some protection against inflation, but it fluctuates. TIPS actually does exactly that. It is designed precisely for that. It's a relatively simple tool, and it's been around since I think late 70s or so. 70s, US had a lot of inflation, so people thought there's a need for such a security, and Treasury created it. But those yields also fluctuate. During the heights of the COVID, they went as low as they went actually negative, and real yields can go negative. Technically speaking, nominal yields can go negative too, and we're going to talk about that. Let me see. Let me show you the 5 years. So this is December 2021. The real yield on 30-year tips was negative 0.60 or so. I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you, let me see if I can find it here. Yep. Let me see. Let me do 10 years good enough. This is 10-year bonds. Bund is the German name for bond. Actually, it has nothing to do with bond. The reason they're called bonds, it is the shortening of the term Bundesrepublik. Germany is also federal government. That's why it's called a Bund. So it is not a bond of the individual states, but the Bundesrepublik itself. Let's do the 5. This is a nominal bond, by the way. Look at the rates back in December 2021. It's negative 35 basis points or so. You know what that means? Normally, if I paid it, I mean, current rate is 246, right? So if I lent the German government 10,000 euros every year, let's assume yearly coupons, they're going to pay me $246 in euros in coupons, right? But here at negative 35, that means I'm going to give them the 10,000 euros now, and every year, for the privilege of them keeping my money, I have to pay them an additional 35 euros. That's negative interest. You're probably thinking, who the hell would actually get into a deal like that? If you think that, you're thinking about just yourself, okay? The cutoff for individual money is the cash, right? If I don't lend it, it's going to stay in my pocket and forget about inflation for now. It's going to stay in my pocket and I'm going to earn a zero interest rate. Why would I actually pay you money to keep my money? But you're thinking small, think big. Do you know how much cash or cash equivalents Google has? Over $100 billion. Okay? Now transport Google to be a German company. And let's say they have 80 billion euros. You cannot put, I mean, you can, but it doesn't make sense. Even with the largest bill, largest euro bill is 500. So let's see, 80, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to just do 80 million divided by 500. That's going to make 160,500,000 bill, 500 euro bills. Each bundle has 100.